Hello, Jing Schwimmer here. Welcome to today's vlog. Probably going to be a short one today because this is one of those days where I have a bunch of errands to run, so I don't have a lot of time to record. But I do have enough time to talk about the European Union. I've been talking so much about domestic politics the last few vlogs, but well, I've been talking about what's happening here in the U.S. Across the pond, as you Brits say. The European Union and Britain have been negotiating. Well, they're not negotiating Brexit. Britain has already left. That's done. But the future relationship, Britain wants a simple trade deal. The European Union wants something more. It looks like they gave up on one thing, on access to British fishing waters, which they don't need. They just need the fish, right? So they can buy the fish from England. And, well, if they don't want to pay a lot for the fish, they can negotiate tariff-free trade in fish and tariff-free trade in everything else. But the European Union, they're kicking and screaming. They gave in on that, but they want, for instance, disputes that might arise between the European Union and Britain to be decided by the European Court of Justice. Britain is refusing. They are refusing for the simple reason that the European Union are trying to keep Britain tied to the European Union. Britain has said, you already have trade agreements with Canada. We want the same agreement. You can have the same agreement with us that you already have with Canada, but they don't want to do one with Britain. Why not? It's very simple, and this is really my point for today. They simply refuse to respect Britain as an independent country. They are in denial. They are partly in denial. They cannot accept that Britain is not part of the European Union. Britain is as independent of the European Union as my country is, the United States. We don't go to the European Court of Justice to settle disputes, for example. The problem, well, it's an additional problem for the European Union because if Britain is truly independent and treated as truly independent, and this is the key point, Britain is successful. If Britain is successful, then other members of the European Union are going to look at Britain and say, why can't we have the same deal that Britain has? Because at the end of the day, what is the advantage of being part of the European Union unless you're Germany and France? If you're Germany, you get to pretty much run Europe without having to invade Europe, so that's an advantage for them. For France, they combine with or partner with Germany, and they become more powerful. They get to punch above their weight. The whole dream was for France, especially, to punch above its weight, to create a United States of Europe that would be as powerful and influential as the United States of America. Obviously, you need more than a mere trade agreement. You need political union. That has been their project. Now, Britain has left that project. They said, we are not interested in being a United States or being part of a United States of Europe. We want to be Britain with our own traditions, our own cultures, the whole 9 yards. They don't want to be part of Europe. And the problem for the European Union is that if Britain is successful, as I just said, then other members will want the same thing because what do they really? Well, look at Italy during the coronavirus crisis. What did Italy get from the European Union? What help did they get from the European Union? What do they gain by being in the European Union except to be tied to the euro so they have no control over their monetary policy. They can't set their own interest rates. They can't have their own currency, obviously, so they can't devalue their currency to get out of a financial crisis. They are really hamstrung. If you're Hungary, you don't want to accept, well, Hungary is one of these Baltic countries that was invaded by the Ottoman Empire, by the Muslims, and under Muslim rule for centuries. For obvious reasons, they don't want to have to let in their fair share, as the European Union says, of Muslim immigrants, for obvious reasons, for understandable reasons, but also for the very logical reason is they want to keep their culture. They don't want to have what they see happening in France, where they have these no-go zones. They're undeniable by now. They don't want to see that in their countries, and they want Hungary to be Hungary. They have an incentive to leave the European Union. The only reason to be in the European Union was, well, the free trade, number one, and number two, to take advantage of the euro and its lower interest rates, and to be able to borrow for the Hungarian government, for a lot of these governments, Greece, to be able to borrow at these ridiculous rates that they could never do if they were not part of the European Union. But it came back to bite Greece in a big way when they could not repay all this money that they were borrowing, and then they got put on this austerity program that they needed to be on in order to still be supported financially by the European Union, so on and so forth. But I'm kind of getting off the subject, which was Britain. They're supposed to negotiate a final agreement by December 31, after which, if there's no agreement, then Britain just leaves without a deal. But the real deadline is just about a month from now, the end of June, because if Britain does not, this is what Boris has said, Boris Johnson, Prime Minister, if he does not see progress, if he does not see the prospects for a good agreement, an acceptable to England agreement by the end of June, his intention is just to leave then, to leave the European Union at the end of June. They are making this deadline of June 30th because this is another thing that the European Union wants that they are not going to get from Britain, which is simply to extend the December 31st deadline, because if nothing is progressing by the end of June, then there is no time really to negotiate a full agreement by December 31st. Or to put it another way, for the European Union, there is no way to negotiate a deal that would keep Britain tied in some way to the European Union. But I would think that a simple no tariff free trade agreement, an agreement that is only about trade, could be done by December 31st. I, in my possible naivety, don't see why you can't just take the Canada agreement, just put it on your word processor and change by search and replace, just wherever you see Canada, change Canada to United Kingdom. Done. And I'm done for today, except to say thumbs up if you like this video, share it with anybody you think would also like the video. If you have any comments, you can put them in the comments section below the video. Questions, suggestions for future topics. You could subscribe, that would be great. Subscribe, and finally come back and see me again. I look forward to seeing all of you again. And until I do see all of you again, bye.